Well, I'm out today on the Blue Revolt in Advance 2, and I'm going to try and go up to Margam Park today. I haven't been there for quite a while. So the route will take us through Bridgend, up to Aberkenvig, up the steep hill past Park Slip, and then down the road past the Wiggly's Fun Farm to the A48. We've got a cycle path alongside the A48, and it'll take us into Margam Park, and that should be between 30 and 35 kilometres, I think. And you'll notice that I've quoted the distance in kilometres, because I'm thinking that perhaps I should change to the metric system. I mean, I grew up in South Africa, which was completely under the metric system all of my racing days. Everything was in kilometres or metres on track races. The vast majority of the cycling world works in kilometres, and the only reason I haven't up till now is because they quote altitude in metres, and that makes no sense to me. Even growing up in South Africa under the metric system, all maps and things quoted altitude in feet. And talking about racing, that's my topic for discussion today. See, I read an article this morning, somebody saying that they should ban TT bikes, and that's something that not only do I wholeheartedly agree with, it's something I've been saying myself for a long time. In my opinion, we should even go further than that. I've said before we should ban radios in professional cycle racing, but I think we should have homologation rules. You should bring the bike at the beginning of the season and say, this is the bike I'm riding for this year, and that includes the pro teams. I think they should bring their bike and say, our riders are going to ride this bike this year, and that's what we're going to do for every race, every event. I mean, if you think about it, even Formula One, which is supposed to be the pinnacle of technological advancement, they have one car for the season. They can't drive different cars for different events. Sure, they can change tyres and gearboxes and things to suit the circuit, but you can do that on a bike as well. And the reason that I'm saying that is because cycling is an athletic sport, and people should be able to shine based on their athletic ability, not on the amount of technology they can afford. Having been involved in motor racing for many years, I've seen the downward spiral of teams that spend more money than the others. It's called checkbook racing. But eventually what happens is that the other teams that can't afford to spend that money decide not to bother, and they withdraw from the series. They've got no chance, they can't afford it. And then the field gets smaller and smaller, the racing gets boring, and people stop watching. And if people stop watching, the sponsors don't get value for money, and they withdraw. And then the series dies. There was a series in South Africa in modified production cars. Over the years, some of the more influential teams and sponsors wanted the rules changed to suit them better. And in the end, the series became V8 supercars. And I can remember watching the race with 12 cars lined up on the grid. And as the race went on, they went past one by one with between 3 and 5 second intervals. And then it was so boring, that's the time that the spectators got up and bought a hot dog or whatever else they were going to have, because they couldn't be bothered to watch the race, and because no one was watching, the sponsors couldn't be bothered, and then the series dies. I've seen similar examples over the years of a good race series that dies off because the people at the top have got more money. Formula One, the audience has dropped off over the years. I know it's still quite popular, but as teams with the money get a bigger and bigger advantage, people switch off and can't be bothered to watch. So then the authorities have to do things to try and manufacture racing, like grooved tyres or compulsory pit stops. But anyway, as I said, I'm talking about cycling. But there's parallels, because the teams with the big money spend more and more on technology, and the teams that don't have the budget don't win. Well, it's starting to, well, I say starting, it's been going on for a long time in cycling, because the money that they're spending on carbon wheels and aerodynamic wind tunnel testing and the skin suits, it's absolutely astronomical. And that's not what I want to see. Because as I said, cycling is an athletic sport. I want to see people win races because they're the best cyclists. And when I was racing, bikes were all pretty much the same. So when I won a race, I felt like I'd won it. I'd won it on my ability. I'm not sure how I would have felt if I'd had some sort of technological advantage. But personally, I think the victory would have felt really hollow. And okay, I know these days with the big money in the sport, the riders are less concerned about hollow victories because it's achievements that'll make them money. Having your name on the board. Found it interesting. Tadej Pogacar said that he wants to break every record in road cycling. He didn't say, I want to be the best of all time. And there's a difference. And okay, I'm not saying that he isn't trying to be the best ever, but there is a subtle difference. But as I said, what really, the people really affected by all of this are the fans. Because if your favourite rider or team excels, and you know it's due to technology rather than rider ability, deep down it just feels a little bit hollow. And then you start to question, why are you supporting that person? Could he do it on a different bike? Could they do it on a different team with less money? So certainly me, I want to support people for their ability. I want to be able to look at them and think, wow, what a fantastic effort. And if you really are inspired, watching a rider win because of technology, perhaps you should go and watch the wind tunnel testing and not bother with the race. And another problem, of course, is in the junior and the amateur ranks, because those are the feeders to the pro tour. Imagine somebody starting out in cycling and says to their parents, I'm going to need an aero bike and a climbing bike, and then I'm going to need £25,000 or more for a TT bike. And the parents are just going to shake their heads and say, have you thought about taking up rugby instead? Because those costs are prohibitive. But there'll always be one or two who do throw the money at it. The others just won't bother. And we already have a situation where amateur road cycling is pretty much on its knees. And without the amateur cyclists feeding the pro tour will die. And cycling will just become a leisure activity. And some of you will say, I don't care. Don't watch pro cycling. Not interested. But you do care, because cycle racing is what persuades the manufacturers to build bikes, where they get their name out there. It's what causes companies to innovate. Things like sports nutrition, things like indexed gears, improvements in tyre technology. So that's always the difficult question. Well, yeah, some technology is good, but the technology is good is the technology that everybody has access to. If Shimano develops a new derailleur, every other team that uses Shimano will use it. If Trek develops a new carbon layup to make their race bikes lighter, they'll start using it in all of their frames. I've said it before, there is a case for a single make series. So everybody has to ride, I don't know, a giant TCR Advanced 1. And the only thing you can change is the wheels. And even then they must be off the peg and cost less than £1,000. Possibly, if you wanted to broaden it out, you could say a series where you'd have to ride a bike that's off the peg and has a list price of less than £4,000. So here's a controversial thought. Is technology as bad as doping? Because it gives some teams an unfair advantage. Let me know what you think in the comments below. And once again, if you found this video interesting, like and subscribe.